This
session.
conference will now be recorded.
All right, so just to recap, again, we have three different virtual machines, same configuration, same code that is running, right? So we said if you are hosting an application called IRCTC, something like that, we'll go ahead and we'll host the same application on all the three machines, three identical machines out here, one, two, and three machines out here as such. So this one will have the same website. I'll say default.html, and this one will also have the same default.html out here, and this one also will have the same default.html page out here as such. So three different websites or three different virtual machines that are hosting the same website running as a part of an availability set. So we have the availability set, and again, this is an availability set composed of guys. When you want to create an availability set, what do you need to create? What do you need to create when you want to create an availability set?
Load balancer, what we discussed.
No, when you create an availability set, load balancer, we'll talk about that later. But when you create the availability set, what is a part of the availability set? What all do you create as a part of the availability set out here?
Alt domain and update domain we have to set.
Fault domain, update domains. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yes, my question. Yes, fault and update domains out here. So we have fault and update domains as a part of this availability set, and we have as a part of this availability set, we have two fault domains and two update domains. Two fault and let's say two update domains out here as such. Also, sorry. Also, we sorry. I have a very sore throat today. All right. Also, we have a user here, and three different machines have three different IPs. So, in order to make sure that the user traffic is spread equally amongst these machines, and to make sure that we have a high availability, we need to configure something known as a load balancer. We need to configure something called as a load balancer out here as such. Yes. So, did anyone read about load balancer yesterday? Did we read about what is load balancers yesterday out here?
Yes.
Yes. Any questions there? Anyone? Any questions there? So let's get in a load balancer. Again, guys, unless you ask questions, I won't be able to tell whether you have understood your concepts or not. If you're not, let me know what you have not understood so that I can repeat the same thing out here again. If you just sit silent, you're not going to really gain anything out of it. You're not really going to gain anything out of it as such. Yes, confusing where? Like, where exactly are you confused about? Okay, from networking. Did you go through the documentation? Sir, if you don't go to the documentation, then how will I be able to help you? Please go through the video once again and go through the documentation. I'll be there to help you anyways. All right, so three different machines I do have in the background, and what I'll do right now
Actually,
is I'll start with yes.
hello.
Some of the yes, go ahead, please, Deepak.
Actually, I have a small doubt.
No,
Yesterday, we
please.
have used something called HTML header file.
Correct.
Why we were using that? I did not
Okay,
get it.
which HTML header file? Where you mean that the default.html?
Yes, yes, default.html. Why we are using that?
Why we are using that? Let's say, uh, if you firstly want to convert a virtual machine into a web server, what do we need to do?
RDP.
Okay, after RDP, what do you need to do?
We have to connect it by using RDC port, and then we have to add
That's
some
fine.
features over there.
Yes, we have to add some features. And what is the feature we need to add in order to convert a machine into a web server?
Roles and
Yes, that's right. But what is the feature? What is the feature we need to add?
sorry, I'm
What is
not
the
getting
feature we
it.
need to? Fine. So we need to add an IIS, right?
Ah, yes.
Yes, IIS internet.
When you put an IIS, what will happen? This is the page that you get. This is the
Yes.
same page that is there on all the three machines.
No, we have to give.
So if
We
I
have
take,
to give now that
what do we have to give?
we have to add this IIS to all the three or four whatever the machines we are having.
Yes, did we not add
Individual.
it? Did we not
We
add
added.
it?
We
We
added.
added, right? So that's the reason. You have IIS running on all the three machines.
Yes.
Same IIS running on all the three machines out here, which means same code. Now, how will I
Yes.
tell you which machine is actually giving you the IIS back? Or which machine is actually, let's say, telling you, or which machine is the code actually hosted from? This page looks very similar, right?
Hmm.
Sorry, I'm sorry,
Yes.
primary. In order to do that, I put a default.html, which will tell you which machine this is.
But public, the IP address which we are using is different for all the virtual machines, right? So from there also we
The
can
three
find out.
virtual machines, that's yes. That's yes, that's yes. But when you put a load balancer, you'll only get one single IP. Then how will you be able
Okay,
to tell then?
so this is the basic for the load balancer key, that how load balancer is going to segregate, traffic separately, right?
I'm sorry, can you come again with the question, please?
I'm saying that this is the basic for the load balancer.
Uh, not really. I mean, you can have any page here. You can have anything here called default.html. In place of default.html, you can have anything here. You can have any page. And yes, in our case, I put this in to differentiate between these three machines, not based on the IP, but based on the
Mm.
content.
Okay, so for everything before we are going into the load balancer, we have to put this default.html
No, not
into.
really. You
Uh,
don't have to. You can simply have the same code. You can simply have just the IIS. Or in place of this, you can have your IRCTC website. You can have your entire website code hosted. So in place of what you see here called
mhm,
default.html, sorry, in place of what you see this particular blue screen, you can see your
mhm,
entire IRCTC website that is hosted on the three website or hosted on, let's say, the three virtual machines out here. So same website hosted on three different virtual machines. I put a default.html so that I can explain that three machines are actually responding back behind a load balancer in order to show you how load balancer
mm.
really behaves.
Okay. So in future, if we are creating if we are creating load balancers, so we
Mhm.
have to go to the C drive, and then in this drive we have to put this HTML header file, right?
Depends on what you're trying to do. Do you just want to put a HTML or do you want to put your entire website code? Getting my point? There is a
Uh,
website called IRCTC. There's a website
hmm,
called IRCTC, right? They'll
okay.
have some code. That code has to be hosted somewhere.
Yes.
Where will that be hosted? Inside these machines, inside that particular C drive of those machines out there. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
hosting your actual website, why do you put the default.html page?
So, yeah, yesterday I tried that only. So that was I got confusing. Then if when directly we can host this code, then why we
Mhm.
have used the HTML header file?
The HTML header file is for you to understand which actually your server is actually giving you this back. If I told you that okay, fine, this is server one, server two, and server three, you won't be able to follow this out, right? Because it's the same thing.
Ah, yes, I got it now.
Yes. Any more questions, guys?
Sir, Madhu here. Sorry to interrupt you. Sir, I'll ask
Good, please.
one, two questions, sir.
Good,
Sir,
please.
actually, I have created how many three virtual machines as a part of availability set.
Okay.
Then I have not assigned any kind of public IP address to that three machines, as
Okay.
well as
Okay.
completely three machines. I have not assigned any kind of IP address, as well as
Okay.
I have not connected with any RDP also.
Okay. Okay.
I have not given any kind of RDP connection. So
Okay.
then I installed the IAS using that yesterday you said, no, I mean, then run commands,
Right.
PowerShell script using PowerShell scripts.
Right.
So
Yes.
I hit the run button, then I've installed the IAS and something. After that, so if I want to make my virtual machine into web server, if I want over the internet to expose my web server, sorry, virtual machine over the internet. So where I can
Right.
check the content means earlier we have using public IP address, right,
Right. Right.
over the internet. So this time, how can I check the content using the browser?
So in this case, you won't be able to check the content. In this case, you won't be able to check the content. Reason being, you do not have a public IP address. So you do not have really a public IP address that is exposed out there to the entire world. Also, if you want to check the content over a private IP, then you
Mhm.
must be in some kind of a VPN session with your virtual network. So you'll have to establish something known as a VPN with your virtual network. Only then you will be able to do that. So what you're trying to do is an intranet communication, not an internet communication. It's an intranet. Using your
Okay.
private IP, if you want to browse that particular IIS server, that will become an intranet. So either you have to have a VPN or something like that, or in before your machines, since you have all the three, let's say, machines that are not running on a public IP address, you can put a load balancer here, which is a public load balancer, and this can have a public IP.
Okay.
So
Okay.
using now the load balancer, you can access the content inside your machines.
Okay.
This is how
Okay.
you
Okay.
can do
Okay,
it.
sir. Got it. Now got it, sir. Sir, thank you. And one more question, sir.
Good,
Sir,
please.
while creating virtual machines, already have created two machines, then three machines. So
Mhm.
I have selected size of the virtual machine as a standard V1 or something,
Okay.
one virtual core CPU and 1 GB memory.
Right.
So if I am trying to create the fourth one, so I'm getting error like exceeding approval total region core quota
Right.
something. That means I need to resize
Right.
my machine, right? If I got this kind of errors,
Sorry, can you come again, please? You need to.
resize my machine, right? I need to resize my
Yes, you will
machine,
have
right?
to. You have to resize your machine. See, in a free trial subscription in a particular region, you won't be
Mm-hmm.
getting more than four, let's say, core of machines out there. There will not be more than four core machines that is allocated to you. So what you can
Okay.
do is that you can go ahead into your earlier machines, which is machine one, machine two, and machine three, and resize them back so that you can create a
Mm-hmm.
fourth machine out here.
Okay. Okay. Sir.
Abhishek,
And
one more
one more
doubt I
small.
have.
Just a second, Deepak. Just hold on a second. Yes. Did I answer the question? Do you have any follow-up questions, sir?
One more question. Last question I have.
Good, please. Go ahead,
Sir,
please.
I just started virtual machine using PowerShell script, like using the command like a start AZVM
Okay.
and stop using the stop AZVM. Using these
Mm-hmm.
commands, I have just started, and it means
Mm-hmm.
if I use the start AZVM VM command means it will make my virtual machine from deallocated to the running state, right?
Correct. Correct.
And if I start from if I use the restart command means if
Mm-hmm.
make me sorry correct me if I'm wrong, that means
Yes.
it will make my virtual machine from the stop state to the running state, not from deallocated to running state, right?
Not really. Restart will just see. For example, the state is called running. If I hit the restart here, right, it'll just go
Mm-hmm.
ahead, restart your machine. Your status will still be in running only. It'll just restart the machine out
Okay.
there. That's it. If you stop the machine from running, it will take it into a deallocated state.
Okay. Okay.
So while using a PowerShell, you can only
Mm.
have two different states out there, either running or deallocated. If you want to put it in a stop, you'll have to log into the machine and then hit the shutdown button from inside the machine out there. That's how you can get the
Okay.
machine into a stop the state out there as
Stop
such.
state. Okay. Okay,
Yes.
sir. Thank you so much. That's
Okay, I'll just hold on with a couple of questions right now so that we can complete the concept and then I can come back to the questions out there. So please park your questions. I'll just address it back again. All right, so this is where we are and this is what I want to do right now. I want to now create a load balancer and attach these three machines to the load balancer out here, so that the public IP address that is assigned to the load balancer is something that I can give you as a user so that you can use that. So what I can do is, let's see, I have three machines here, and I'll say load balancers. I'll search for something called as load balancers out here. Now it's telling, okay, fine, go ahead, you can create something called as a load balancer. I'll say create a load balancer, and I'll take the existing resource group which is called demo RG, in which all my three machines are present, and I'll give a name for the load balancer. I'll say demo load balancer US East 2, something like this. ECS2, US East 2, something like this. And very importantly, guys, your load balancers or your load balancer and the machines that you want to attach to the load balancer, both of them have to be in the same region. If it is East US2 here, it should be East US2 here only. Only then you will be able to manage traffic to this particular machines out here as such. So what I'm going to do is I'll say this is East US2, and I'll select the load balancer type as a standard. Usually the load balancer type that you select even in a real-time environment would be standard only. We are not using basic load balancers. Basic load balancer is only for non-production environments, non-critical environments out here. Standard load balancer is the go-to option. So I'll also talk about why is a basic load balancer, what is a basic load balancer, and all that stuff. But for now, what I'll do is I'll say I need a standard load balancer, and the type of the load balancer that I'll say is a public load balancer out here as such. I'll say this is a public load balancer, which means this is the load balancer that I want to expose to you on the internet. Public meaning internet, meaning I want to, let's say, go ahead and expose this, let's say, traffic to the internet out here as such. So I'll say public load balancer, and here in the tier I'll say it's a regional load balancer out here as such. So I'll say regional load balancer. I'll say next. Now it is asking me, okay, since it's a public load balancer, you need to give an IP address to this particular load balancer out here. It's telling, okay, it's a public load balancer. Now tell me, what is the IP address of this particular load balancer? This is called as a front-end IP configuration. Do I need an IP? Yes? No? I'm sorry, can you come again, please?
Yes,
Yes,
we
it will
need.
automatically. Yes, it will automatically create, but yes, you have to add something called as a front-end configuration out here as such. So I'm telling, okay, fine, add a front-end IP configuration. So please follow with me. There will be a lot of components and load balancers that we need to configure. Please stop me if you don't follow anything. And I'll say that this is a load balancer IP. Then it is asking me, is it an IPv4 address, IPv6 address? You can configure any one of them. I'll take IPv4, and I'll say it's now asking me, do you want to now choose a public IP or do you want to create a new public IP out here? I'll say create a new public IP. I'll say the name of the public IP is called test IP load balancer LB, something like this. I will say okay. All I'm giving is the name of the IP address, and I'll say add. So what it is telling me? It is telling me load balancer IP is to be created. The front end load balancer or the front end IP of the load balancer will be created out here as a part of this particular review and grade, as a part of creating the load balancer itself. I'll go ahead and create a front end IP out here. Great, not a problem. Now the next thing it's asking me is that, you know what? Can you tell me what is the backend pool? Pool is nothing but a group. It's telling, okay, fine. What are the machines in the background that you want the load balancer to manage the traffic to? Okay, what are the machines in the background that are running to which you want to divert the traffic to? Add all those machines into something called as a backend pool out here as such. I'll say, okay, great. I'll say next backend pools. In here, I'll say add a backend pool. Still asking me the pool name. I'll say pool A. Any name is super okay with me. It's asking me what is the virtual network in the background in which these machines are running in, and I only have one virtual network as a I mean as I mean I only have one virtual network into which I have three different machines running. I'll pick this up, and now it's telling okay, fine, great. Now tell me what is your backend pool configuration. Tell me what are all the machines that are running in the background, and do you see what it is asking for? NIC card. NIC card is attached. One NIC card is for one machine, which means if I attach the NIC card, I'll end up attaching the machines itself. I'll say add. Do you see what is this right now? Three different machines, demo VM0, 1 and 2. I'll say, okay, fine, you know what? These are the three machines that I want to make a part of, let's say, my load balancer. I'll say add. It says great. These are the machines. I'll say save. Now, what do you see? What I configured in basic, I said, what is the type of the load balancer? I said it's a public load balancer, standard load balancer. After that, I added a front-end IP configuration for the load balancer. After that, I added the backend pools. Now, this is what now your load balancer is asking you. Is telling me load balancer is now will ask me, is that okay, fine? I understand that someone is talking to me or some user is talking to my IP. The load balancer will have the IP address, right? And this is the IP address that I will give you as a user. So you are my end user. You are using that particular application called IRCTC. I am giving you this IP address, which means that you are going to your web browser, putting this IP and talking to my load balancer. Yes. So you're communicating directly to what? My load balancer out here. Can anyone tell me on which port are you communicating with the load balancer? On which port do you think that you will communicate with the load balancer out here?
HTTP or HTTP.
HTTP or
80
HTTPS?
ports, 80
80
PS.
port?
HTTPS.
Exactly. 80 or 443. You'll either use HTTP or HTTPS. In my case, since I don't have a HTTPS, I'll be using a port called what? 80. What does the port 80 belong to, guys? What does
HTTP.
port 80 belong to? HTTP?
HTTP.
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 Yes.
What is the port number for RDP?
Double
Double.
389.
3389.
12389. Exactly. Guys, again, these are the questions. Please be attentive. Please be attentive out here. I'm not getting any inputs from people inside the class. If that is the case, you're not listening to the videos or you're not practicing it out. These are very important questions. Interviewers are going to ask you, and one question is enough to break your interview. Very simple. One question, if I ask you one question telling that, you know what is the port number for HTTP, you're not able to tell me, I won't even go forward. All right. So, this is what HTTP, HTTPS both will work, but you have to configure HTTPS. You have to configure something called HTTPS. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about how do you configure HTTPS out here as such. Sometimes website work with HTTP, sometimes work with HTTPS. No, websites mostly go for HTTPS only. They only go for HTTPS only. This is for our demo. We are doing HTTP. I'll tell you why I'm not doing HTTPS also. Okay, so you are going to the internet, talking to the machine on what port 80 HTTP traffic. Now it is telling you that okay, fine. If I get a port or if I get a call or if I get a request on port 80, what should I do? I will say, you know what? If you get a request at port 80, please divert to the backend pool, pool A. Right? This is something that you added as a part of which you have what? Three machines. It's telling, okay, great. I'll divert it to the port. I'll divert it to this particular pool called pool A. But can you tell me even in this pool, the machines are having ports. The machines are having ports. Yes, no, maybe. Yes,
Yes,
no,
maybe.
yes. Now it's asking me on which port of this machine should I divert the traffic to? What will be the port of the machine, guys, to which you need to divert the traffic to? Which port do you think will
Uh,
listen? Sorry,
TCP/IP. TCP/IP.
TCP/IP. Which port do you think will listen? In the background,
mm,
which port should I divert my traffic to?
RAD deep
Automate
Same HTTP.
RDP. Should I do it in
RDP.
RDP? Meaning, if you are coming over the internet, should I tell you, okay, fine, log into the server? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Are we sure about that?
TCP/IP is not specific, right? We can define any port as
Correct.
per
But
our
which
requirement.
port should I define here? Which port in
Uh,
the backend should I define here? Which port in the backend is open?
Oh, HTTP.
HTTP only.
HTTP.
HTTP only, which means all the
Yes.
machines
Yes.
listen to HTTP only. Why will I or why should I divert the traffic to RDP? Or why will I even do that? Meaning you're coming to IRCTC, I'm asking you to log inside IRCTC. Why will I even do that? Guys, getting this?
Yes.
Guys,
Yes.
who are not following this? Who are not following until here?
Can you explain it once again?
I'll explain it once again. Great. Now, there is a fact that you are configuring a front end IP address to the load balancer, right? This load balancer will have the IP address. What will I do? I will give you this IP address to access my application. How will you access this particular IP address, guys? Going to the internet, meaning going to the browser, accessing it out, which means you are talking to the load balancer at a port called what? 80. Now the load balancer is telling, okay, fine, you know what? If I get a traffic at port 80, what should I do? I'll tell the load balancer, if you get a traffic at port 80, divert it to the backend pool called pool A. Take the traffic to the backend pool called pool A, which has three machines running as a part of the backend pool. And now I'm telling the load balancer that you know what? In these three machines, all these three machines are also listening to 80 because it's a HTTP traffic. All these three machines are also listening to 80. So please divert the traffic into a port called what? 80 out here. This is what I need to tell as a part of something called as an inbound rule configuration. Very, very, very important. And say add something called as a load balancing rule. I'll say the rule name is called rule A, something like this, some name. Now it's asking, okay, fine. What is the front end IP address? This is the one that we are creating. It's telling, okay, fine. This is the front end IP address. Okay, tell me what is the backend pool? Pool A. So from front end to the backend, from this IP to the backend is what the rule is now telling about. Is not is what the rule is now talking about. Now it's telling, okay, fine. I'll divert the traffic, but what kind of a traffic that I need to divert? I'll say it is a TCP, and I'll say the front end port is 80. Backend port is also what? 80. This is what I'm telling. Is that if you get a traffic at the front end port called 80, please go ahead, divert it to the backend port called what? 80 out here. Translation. This is called translation out here. The load balancer is simply acting as a traffic constable in front, telling that okay, fine, if I get a green light, I'll divert it here. If I get a red light, I'll divert it here. In the form of this one, I'm just telling what is the port that you need to work on. Got it? One final thing is that the load balancer is telling, okay, fine, great, I will do that. But in case the VM1 is down or the VM0, we have VM1, VM2. In case this machine is down because of some reason, there is a Microsoft update or there is a hardware failure, whatever it is. Do you think that the load balancer should divert the traffic to this machine now? No, because if it diverts, what will happen? The user will simply see an error page telling that okay fine, there is an error and all that stuff, right? It shouldn't divert it. But my question is, how will the load balancer know whether this machine is healthy or not, right? Agreed. The load balancer should have some mechanism to test whether these machines are healthy or not, right?
Yes.
Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, sir.
That
Yes.
is where one more component of a load balancer comes into picture, which is called as a health probe. Probe in a very simple English is to check. Now, if you convert it, what do you have? Health check. Very simple. It's now telling, okay, fine. How do I check? And that's how, as a part of our inbound load balancing rules, we configure something called as what? A health probe. If you click on this, this is what it's telling you. The selected health probe is used by this route to determine which virtual machine in the backend pool are healthy and can receive the load balance the traffic, can respond to your traffic. I'll say, okay, fine, create a new one. Here, I'll say this is a demo health probe HP. I'll just give a name. Now it's asking me what is a protocol. You can take any protocol, TCP, HTTP. Don't choose HTTPS because HTTPS is something that we're not doing. I'll say TCP protocol. Now I'm telling, please go to the virtual machine in the background. 80 is the port where the virtual machine is receiving the traffic. So please go to the 80. For every 5 seconds, check whether the machine is healthy or not. For every 5-second interval, check whether the machine is healthy or not, and I'll say okay. This is what I have now configured. Now, if you see, as a part of my load balancer till here, I'll just say add. As a part of my load balancer till here, this is what I did. In the basic tab, I said what is the name of the load balancer. After that, I said what is the SKU of the load balancer. It is standard. Then the type of the load balancer, I said it's a public, and then regional load balancer. And after that, I said front end IP configuration. I just added an IP address here, and then I'm adding a load balancing rules. Then I'm telling how the traffic should be diverted and a health probe. All these are the basic components that a load balancer has. And in between these two, I forgot to mention, we have a backend pool. And the load balancing rules are now going to decide how the traffic is going from the internet into your backend pool based upon what kind of a protocol. And I'll say, I don't need the outbound rules, I don't need the tags, I don't need this one. I'll say review and create finally. Now I'm telling review and create. And now it's telling things like it's a Visual Studio subscription, the resource group name, the name of the load balancer, the SKU standard, the IP address, the backend pools, the rules. I'll say create. Very importantly, in order to manage traffic, both your load balancer and the machines should be as a part of the same region. It cannot be in a different region out there as such. If the load balancer of the machines are in ECS2, load balancer should also be in ECS2 out here as such. So both the machine and the load balancer should be ECS2 out here as such. Now it is creating a load balancer as a part of my deployment out here as such. And while it's creating a load balancer, it is making sure to configure all these things. It's telling the basic out here, the front end IP, the backend pools, the load balancing rules, and all that stuff out here as such. Yes, any questions I can take till here?
The
Anyone? Any question?
yeah, the front end port number is an 80. The back end port
Mhm.
number also must be an 80, or we can change it to any port number.
You can change it to any port. You can change the backend to any port out here. But the
Okay.
reason I'm picking up an 80 here is because this is an internet traffic that I'm trying to divert. This is an internet traffic that I'm trying to divert, and that's the reason I've chosen the backend port as 80.
Okay. And one more thing, the health probe, from which place it is checking in health of the missions?
Again, the health probe is also situated in ECS 2 only. Health probe is a part of the load balancing solution. The health probe out here is nothing but a part of your load balancing solution. It
Okay.
is called as a ping test. Do you all know what is a ping test, guys? PING ping test.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
anytime hear about
So that is
it? Right?
communicating from load balancer to machines or somewhere, otherwise it is in a sitting in somewhere in a portal or other
No,
places.
it's inside the load balancer and the machine. It's just a communication between load balancer and the machine out here,
Okay, okay.
whether it's working or not. Exactly. Ping test here is this. If you
Okay,
open a
thank you.
command prompt in your system, or let's say you open PowerShell in your system and give a command call and give an address called google.com to check whether the website is healthy or not and say enter, what your machine is going to do is that your machine is going to send some artificial request to that particular website, and it will check whether if there is any data loss or not. 0% data loss website, which means that the website is up and running. Your load balancer will do the same thing in the background. Your load balancer will ping each and every machines for an interval of every 5 seconds. For every 5 seconds, it will check these machines and it will see, okay, fine, are you alive? Yes. Are you alive? Yes. Are you alive? Yes. If you are not, then the load balancer will not divert the traffic into this particular machine out here as such. The load balancer will simply refuse to divert the traffic, as let's say, or will simply refuse to divert the traffic into this particular machine. Okay, so let's see. I have my load balancer created. I'll say go to the resource. It's a demo load balancer out here, and then I have things like, let's see, the resource group name, the location, the subscription, pool, and as a part of the pool, I have 3 virtual machines out here. Then as a rule, I have load balancing rule to be port number 80. And if I scroll down, I have things like health probes. If you see, health probe is a part of your load balancer out here. Then I have load balancing rules, which will tell you rule A, how the rule is configured. If you click on this one, you can also check the rule out on how did I configure the rule. If I go back, I have something called what? Front end IP configuration, which is what? 20, 75, 122, 1, which is the IP address of the load balancer. So I'll say IP load balancer. What is this? 2075, something like this. Yes. This is the IP of what? Virtual
Head.
machine?
Load
VM0.
balance.
Question. Yes.
So VM0 has got what? Its IP address. Is it different from the load balancer? Yes. This is VM1.
Yes.
I'll say VM1. This is different from the load balancer and the VM0. This is VM2.
Yes. Yes.
This is also different. 4 different public IPs out here. Let me go back. Go into the demo VM0. What should be the public IP that you should see here? This one, 74. What is the public IP that you see here? What is this? Load balancer IP.
Load balance.
Exactly. Going to the VM1. Let's see what is the public IP here. Same load balancer IP. VM2, which means when you just observe this, when the load balancer started deploying it, do you see what happened? Very firstly, it created what? Public IP addresses. It created a public IP address. After that, what it did? It created what? The load balancer. After that, what it did? It updated the NIC card in the background of all the 3 virtual machines. And what is attached to a NIC card, guys? What do you think will be attached to a NIC card?
IP address.
IP
Virtual
address?
machine. Virtual.
Yes, exactly. The IP address. So load balancer just went in the background and gave its IP to all the three machines. This is how load balancer will be able to establish a relation between a parent and the child. All these are the children. So whichever machine that you have a part or whichever machine that you have as a part running in the backend of the load balancer, all these machines will get its own IP address out here as such. Got it? Now, if I take the IP address of the load balancer, I'll copy the IP address of my load balancer, go to the browser and say enter. I'm getting the IIS. Which machine is returning me this particular IIS page? Which machine do you think it's returning this IIS page out here?
The first one.
Will I
First one.
first one, second one, third one?
First one.
First one.
How we can identify exactly? That's the reason I
In the
put
Default.html.
a
brackets.
default.html. That's the reason I put a default.html page inside the machines. This is machine VM01, machine 2. VM00 was machine 1, VM01 is machine 2, VM02 is machine 3. So now machine 2 is responding back to my request. Again, you people can also try the same thing out. I can go ahead, give this out here. Each and everyone can go ahead, hit this IP by using the default.html. I am pretty sure that you might not get machine 1. Some of y'all can get machine 0. Some of y'all can get machine 2. Some of y'all can get machine 1. You can try this out. You can try at your end and you can let me know what you're getting out here as such. Which means what the load balancer is now doing is that the load balancer is diverting the traffic equally into these machines. First request here, second request here, third request here, fourth request here, fifth request here, sixth request here, so on and so forth. This methodology is called as round robin. It's a round robin process, which means alternatively it's going ahead checking what are the machines that are healthy, seeing whether the machine is healthy or not, and then diverting the traffic out there. In case the machine is unhealthy, if it goes down, let's also see the scenario. Now I'm getting traffic from what? Machine 2. I'll go here. This is VM1. I'll go ahead, stop this out. Just in case something happens, your machine will go into a deallocated state and will not respond back. If it goes into a deallocated state, now what is the interval of health probe? How frequently the health probe will check the machines? For every 5
Seconds.
seconds.
5 minutes.
It's
5
5
seconds.
seconds. Yeah, 5 seconds.
what am I getting right now? 2. I will never be able to get virtual machine 1. Reason being, the health probe would have identified that you know what, virtual machine 1 is down. So I will never ever divert the traffic there. Again, if I use a different browser out here and etc. and try this out, you see from my Microsoft Edge browser, I'm getting machine 00. From my Google Chrome browser, I'm getting what? Machine 02 out here as such. In case machine 2 also goes down, in case machine 2 will also go down out here. Again, this is in a deallocating state. It will take about 5 seconds. Only VM00 will come into picture. You will not have VM1 coming into picture. In this way, companies ensure that the applications are up and running always. Which means now, just imagine that IRCTC in place of default.html, you have your actual IRCTC website. And IRCTC will not just run on one particular virtual machine, guys. You'll have hundreds of virtual machines in the background. You'll have a load balancer in the front, and this load balancer will go ahead and say, okay, fine, which machine that I need to drive the traffic to. Which means that now the incoming load is equally diverted to these machines. Performance is better. In case one machine were to go down, I can go ahead and let's say divert the traffic to the rest of the machines out here. Such. this is how we could be using something known as a load balancer out here as such. Yes, any questions that I can take till you?
Suresh,
Sir,
please.
we are using,
Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay. One at a time, please.
if we are using IRCTC website in real time, if the we will
Okay,
fill the some details, the in the middle
I'm
of
sorry.
the
Can you?
details, it will, if we
Mm-hmm,
filling the details of the passenger or anything, if the
mm-hmm.
website get stuck, they will be moved to the another virtual machine.
Again, they will be moved to the another virtual machine. So that's the reason you see when you're trying to sometime book your ticket, right? Sometimes there's a glitch. Website stops responding, and once you refresh, you again have to fill the entire details because it's a new virtual machine. It's a new box, or it's a, let's say, new server that you're, let's say, getting diverted to. So yes, in those cases, yes, there will be an interruption while you're doing some payment. Sometimes you would have observed, right? While you're doing some payment, you'll get a bad gateway. Money will get debited from
Yes.
you, but the ticket is not getting booked. Some issues, yes. Those are a couple of issues that yes, if the machine is going down intermittently.
Sir, how many virtual machines can be connected to a single load balance?
I'm sorry, Ashish. Your voice is a little. I'm not able to really hear you. Can you come again, please?
How many virtual machines can be connected to a load balancer?
There is no limit. You can connect any number of machines to a load balancer. There is no real limit out there as such.
So in the case, how can I help to check for every virtual machine for 5 seconds?
Sorry, can you come again, please?
For suppose if there are 100 virtual machines to a load balancer,
Hmm.
and how can I help to check each and every virtual machine for 5 seconds?
Yes, Health Pro will do a parallel check. See, when I say 5 seconds, Health Pro will go to all the three virtual machines parallelly and check for, let's say, that particular traffic to see whether it is able to really respond back or not, or something like that.
So, okay, I'm asking if there are like 100 machines to a single load balancer, and what help probe should check every virtual machine for 5 seconds. How can it check
Yes, correct.
all the 100 systems, all the 100 virtual machines for every 5 seconds?
You are asking how will it check or will it check?
Yeah, there are 100 virtual machines to a load balancer, and they help probe
Yes,
to check each and every virtual machine for 5 seconds.
that's correct.
And okay, and it is taking 5 seconds for every virtual machine. Like there are 100 into 5, we have 500 seconds over there. If
Again,
any
that's
virtual
right.
machine is down,
That's what my exact point was. Is that the backend logic is not serial; it's parallel logic, which means each and every machine is being checked parallelly for every 5 seconds. Teja, can you please go on mute? I'm getting a lot of echo at your end, please. Yes. So now the logic is a parallel logic. It's not like first the virtual machine will go here, take 5 seconds, check this out, then come here, check this out. No, it's checking everything parallelly. It's a parallel logic that is happening, which means if the first machine is taking 5 seconds, the 100th machine will also take 5 seconds out here. So for every 5 seconds, at the same time, parallel logic. It will implement a parallel logic, go into the backend pool, check all the machines, and give you the status back. This is how it will understand which machine is down, which machine is not.
got it, sir.
Okay.
Hello, Abhishek. I
Yes.
have a doubt.
Go ahead, please.
While creating a virtual machine, we have availability set and zone, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
both we are going to select parallelly or one by one, or how? Like clients will be asking us to do that?
Yes. So if you select an availability set, you won't be able to select an availability zone. So it's either an availability
Yes.
set or a zone. So depending upon, again, see, when you select an availability zone, the cost is slightly higher when compared to an availability
Okay.
set. The cost is slightly higher out here. So yes,
Hmm.
the architecture will tell you, or the client will tell you what they really need, whether they need an availability set or whether they need an availability zone.
Okay. Second thing is that if we have created something in IPv4, Okay,
Okay.
and like here we have seen in this load balancer, there were two things that we have to select
Mhm.
both the things in the same region, like IPv4. Then inbound also should be in IPv4. Suppose if you want to
Correct.
change it from IPv4 to IPv6, is it possible?
Okay. I am not too sure about if you can upgrade from IPv4 to IPv6 because there's something that's related to the IP. So no, I don't think you'll be able to upgrade it to an IPv6 address after creating it. It's only at the time when you create a load balancer you can select whether it's an IPv4 or an IPv6.
Okay, so this also we have to ask from this architecture or the client.
Yes, but usually we go for an IPv4 address. Very usually, I'm telling you, let's say usually, because
Mm-hmm.
IPv6 is very rarely used these days. Yes, in
Mm-hmm.
the near future, about 5-10 years later, yes, you'll see a lot of IPv6s coming up. But right now, it's all IPv4 that's being used as such.
Okay. One small question.
Mhm.
Difference between HTTP and HTTPS and TCP.
TCP is transfer control protocol. Let's say a TCP is a generic one. It can be HTTP, it can be HTTPS, it can be UDP, whatever it is. But
Mm-hmm.
difference between a HTTP, HTTPS, there's actually a lot. HTTP, HTTPS, good that you asked.
Okay,
I'll
so
just give
I'll,
you
I'll
a very brief.
request you to I'll request you if you can give me that documentation link where I can get this difference. So once I'll go ahead, if I'll not understand, then I can ask
Sure,
the
just do a
difference
Google.
between
Difference
HTTP.
between, yes, just do a Google search. Difference
Okay,
between
directly we can
HTTP
type
and
it, na?
HTTPS. Yes, you can type it directly. HTTP and HTTPS. Any documentation is okay. What is the primary difference between HTTP and HTTPS?
Okay. And where we can get all the port which is required, like as we came to know 80 ports 443. I think we have not covered 443 yet, which is going to be part of this load balancer.
A 443 will be a part of Azure PaaS services. 443
But
is
yesterday,
HTTPS. Yes.
yesterday when I was going to the this documentations, I came to know in the load balancer
Mhm.
only internal part something is there in load
See, you
balancer where
can
we are using
do,
443.
that's right. You can do 443 even in a load balancer, but I'm not doing a 443 in a load balancer. Reason being, I need to buy a certificate if I do a 443. There is
Okay.
something called as a TLS certificate that I need to buy, or there's something called as an SSL certificate that I need to buy. Secure
Hmm.
socket layer. Once you
So
have an
on the
SSL certificate, mhm,
So where we are using 80 for the virtual machine, first at the front end we have used 80 ports, and
mhm,
second time we were using for the virtual machine like 80, 80, 80. On that place we have to replace it 443 in future if it is required.
if it's
Is
required,
it?
yes, correct.
Okay, okay. There's what I got confusion. Like you introduced 443, but we have not used, so might be in future
Yes,
we'll be using it in
we
the
have
load
not used
balancer.
443. In the future, when we do Azure app services and PaaS services out there, that's when
Mhm.
we'll go ahead and use something known as a 443 as such out there as such.
Thank you.
No problem. Any more questions, guys?
Suresh, Suresh.
Good, please. Good, please.
So in the load balancer, why don't we see the front-end IP in the overview tab? Because in general regular missions, we see in the overview tab the public IP.
Correct.
Why don't we?
But this is not a regular machine. This is not a regular machine, right? It's a service. So they have not
Okay.
exposed it here. They have put it here.
Okay. And the another question which I have is Health Pro. Like, do we write any command? For example, we have three or four, it's just a basic small company. We have given only 10 virtual missions. And but with the 10 virtual missions, we have created a load balancer and we have created a rule like, every 5 seconds, this mission has to be checked. And if any mission fails, our manual intervention is required why it was failed, right?
Correct.
So how will we know that it got failed that you need to go ahead and check that a particular virtual machine and you need to fix it? Do we get any notification for that to whether the virtual machine got failed or it went into deallocated state?
Good question is that if a machine fails, how will I even come to know whether the machine is failing? Okay. I'll just put
Right.
you on mute. Yeah, I'll just put you on mute and explain this out. Yes, thank you. So yes, so the question here, very good question, is that see if a machine fails, how will I even come to know whether the machine is failed? Because If a machine is failing, I need to come and check whether the machine is, why is the machine failing and all that stuff, right? That's where you have something called monitoring. Monitoring is a complete different section. We'll talk about it in a very detailed way. You have monitoring and you can configure something called as an alert rule, telling that if you see a machine going down, probably send me an email or give me a call or give me a message. And whenever you get this out, or whenever the machine goes down, the rule that you configure will automatically trigger as a part of your monitoring. This rule will constantly keep checking your machines, telling that the machine is down, up, running, what it is. And depending upon the status of it, it'll send you an email, give you a call, give you a message telling that, okay, fine, you know what, the machine is going down or the machine is coming up and so on and so forth. And depending upon this, you can manually intervene. No, you have to configure the rule. It's not automatically notified. You have to configure the rule out here. These are called alert rules. Alerts is something that we'll see completely in a complete session out there as such, on how to configure the alert rules out there.
Okay, got it. And one more question.
Mhm.
In these our sessions, like in the training part, do we have like creating an image and from image to the deploying the virtual machines?
I do not have an image out here. Just a second.
I'm not talking about this.
Sorry, I just put you on mute. As I was explaining, I am not creating an image as a part of a demo. Again, it will be very much into administration part out there as such. But I can give you documentations on how to create the image, and I can also give you links on how to create an image and deploy the same thing out there as such.
Can you please respond that email by using this document so that I'll go through and if I have any questions I can come back to you.
Sure, definitely. I can send the documentation across to you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Abhishek, I have a question.
Is there any more questions, guys?
In pool anytime there is all machine will go down.
Uh, okay, are you asking, is there any time all the machines will go down?
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, again, if it's a regional outage, see, again, all these machines are just running as a part of one single data center, right? They are just running as a part of one single data center that's situated in East US 2. So if there is a data center outage, yes, all the machines are going to go down. That's the reason you have another concept called global load balancing, which means that you can create the same, let's say, replication in a different region altogether. And again, it completely depends upon the criticality of your application. That can your application afford a downtime? If your application cannot even afford a downtime of 1 second, then yes, we'll place machines in different regions and then load balance it out as such out there. But yes, if it's a data center outage, then yes, the machines are going to go down. They're bound to go down.
Sir,
Good, please.
sorry. Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Good, please.
Sir, if the using front-end IP and front-end IP, if we can using some ports or something IP address, we can establish a connection between the front-end IP and back-end pool, right?
Correct.
Each and every machine having their own IP, own public IP. If
Correct.
that public IP is attached to NIC card, then so in the background establish a connection like this now. So what if public IP is not there? Then how it is going to establish connection between these two front
Actually, you
end
do
IP
not
and
even have to have a, yeah, you don't even have to have a public IP addresses for the machines running in the background. They already have a private IP, right? So it'll
okay,
just go
okay,
ahead update that particular NIC card. So it understands the machine
okay,
by using a private IP address.
okay. Public IP is not there,
So
then automatically it will take the private IP and attach to
exactly,
NIC
not
card, then establish it.
yes. So the point here is
Okay,
that
sir.
when you do a load balancer, right, you don't even need a public IP here, because I don't want to create three different public IPs for three different machines and waste money there. I don't even need a public
Okay,
IP. I can simply go and delete it out.
okay, sir. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Right. So that's it from my end, guys. I'm a little top of the hour. I'm just running late for the next session out there. So if there are any questions, please park it. We'll take it as a part of tomorrow's session out there, such. But please read and try out load balancing. Yeah. Thank you and have a good day ahead.